everybody! It took some work, but I had another successful hunting season this year, and now I have a simply spectacular recipe for you. I'm making this exquisite deer liver pate that everyone's gonna love. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to get this liver all cleaned up. I'll peel the membrane and then I'll cut out any of the little pipes and tubes that are inside of here, and I'll cut it into some nice clean chunks. And if you know your critters, you can tell that the deer that I got this year was another little runt. But it wasn't for lack of trying. I had been out there many days and I'd seen this little deer multiple times, but I was waiting for something a little bigger. But we got down to the last minute and I needed to put something in the freezer, so a little guy is what I got. Now then, the membrane is real easy to get off these once you get a good starting spot. Just gonna peel a little bit off of there. Just need to get an edge loose. There we go. You can use a knife if you want to, but you usually don't have to. You just find an edge and then start peeling it away. Now we're talking. Very soft, and this membrane will just make it harder to get that pate nice and smooth like we want. So any of the little hard bits you can find, you want to get them out. I am going to push it through a sieve, so there's a little bit of that stuff in there. I should be able to get it out that way. The more I can get out now, the better off I'll be. Okay, clean up this horror show just a little bit. Now I'm just going to cut this into some cubes, maybe 1x1 cubes, not that important. And I'll be looking for any hard bits in there as I go. I've done this a lot of times with chicken livers, and they make excellent pate. That's not a recipe that I currently have up, but something I should probably work on. But deer liver, while it is very mild compared to beef liver or pork liver, it's not nearly as mild as chicken liver. So I want to take steps to make this as mild as I possibly can. I'm going to start by soaking this in milk. I'll just cover this up with milk, make a big mess on the cutting board, and just stir those up a little bit. And then I'll let these soak in this milk in the refrigerator overnight. And that milk is going to help to draw out some of the real irony flavor that liver can sometimes have and leave us with nice, mild, relatively sweet liver.
Many hours later.
Once the livers are ready, I want to get a lot of flavor into the pate without adding a bunch of solids. So what I'm going to do is make a really flavorful liquid that'll puree down nice and smooth with those livers. And I'm going to start with about a ½ pound of bacon. So we'll get some nice smokiness in there and a little of that fat. I'm just going to bring this up to temp on medium heat. I'm not looking to crisp this bacon. I'm just going to kind of wilt it down and extract some of those flavors. Now when that bacon starts to heat up, sweat out a little of the juices, I'm going to put in 1 cup of finely diced onion, about a quarter to a half a cup of finely diced shallot. I'm just going to keep cooking this over medium heat until my onions start to get a little bit translucent and soften up just a bit. That should take around 5 minutes. That looks good, and now it's time to bring in the booze. So what I've got here is 3/4 of a cup of Madeira. You could use some white port here if you want. That's going to add a lot of flavor and a lot of sweetness to this. And then to fortify that just a little more, I've got 1/4 cup of brandy. And I like to use an apple brandy, not the kind that's flavored and really sweet, but like a real fermented apple brandy, like Applejack. Very good in here. So now I'm just going to bring up the temp a little bit and bring this up to a nice strong boil. Now I'll throw in a few sprigs of thyme, just kind of mash those in there. Now I'll bring down the heat and I'll let this simmer for just 1 minute. Then I'm going to take it off of the heat and let that sit for 10 or 15 minutes to cool down and kind of let those flavors work their way into that liquid. Now I want to strain that out and collect all that liquid. Now push that through, get as much of that liquid out of there as you can. We're looking for somewhere around 2/3 of a cup of liquid. If you're a little bit over, I think you're going to be alright. Now it's time to blend this up. So I've got 1 pound of my soaked and now rinsed liver. Here is that flavoring liquid that I made with the bacon and the onions and shallot. I have 2 teaspoons of sea salt or kosher salt. And this is optional. This is 1/2 teaspoon of pink cure #1. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna make the pate keep a nice kind of ruby color to it. But if you've got a problem with cure and you don't mind your pate being all brown, go ahead and leave that out. This is 4 eggs. This is 3/4 of a cup of melted butter, and you could clarify your butter if you want. This one I kind of semi-clarified, but I didn't go through all the trouble of getting out all the milk solids because you're not really going to be able to tell. And I'm gonna finish this off with some fresh thyme right at the end. And this is 2 tablespoons of some fresh thyme leaves that I spent a lot of time meticulously plucking away from the stems. It might have been the thing that took the longest in the whole recipe. You can strain this one more time through a fine sieve if you're being very meticulous, and why wouldn't you be? You've worked very hard for the game that you get, so it's worth taking the time and putting in the effort to get the best quality products. I've only got this little sieve, so this might take a minute, depending on how well I've got that pureed. It's going pretty good. Tends to get a little gelatinous when you do this, so you're gonna have to force it through that sieve. There we go. Just a little bit of liver snot left in there. Oh, I nearly forgot to put in the thyme just here at the end, and you can just add as much as looks good to you. Now you could pour this into any shape mold you want, and the traditional way to do this is in the oven in a water bath that you're going to cover with some foil, and you're going to cook those until it hits an internal temperature of 155 degrees Fahrenheit. But that is a little laborious for me, and for me, by far, the easiest way to do that is in these little mason jars. I've got the party size, and I got the personal size, and I'm gonna cook this in a sous vide water bath. That's gonna give me a very precise temperature, and I don't have to worry at all about overcooking them. So I'm gonna fill them up to kind of the bottom of the threads in there. You can go a little over with this because we're not cooking this really hot. And you want to make sure and stir that around from time to time as you're filling those jars. Now we just want to make sure we get the threads and the rims of these clean and dry. Now we'll get our lids on here. And you just want to put your rings on there. Just get them snug. Don't really cinch down on those. Got my water bath preheated to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's 68°C. Now, I'm going to carefully set my jars in there. Don't want to slosh everything around. We'll just gently place those down in here. And we'll get that covered up to keep it warmer and keep that water from evaporating off of there. And the little guys, they're gonna take 90 minutes. The bigger ones, they're gonna take about 2 hours. But since I've got this set right where I want it, I can leave these in here for 3 hours or more and it'll all be the same. So I'll just go ahead and go 2 hours for everything. Then I'll pull them out. I'll pop them outside where it's nice and cold. I want to get them cooled off kind of quickly. Then into the fridge and we can try these out tomorrow. This is all cooled down and now it's finally time to see how we did. You see that color? That is the color that'll be all the way through if you choose not to add the cure. But now check this out. Look at that beautiful, beautiful rosy color. Oh yeah. Check out that bite. Sweet cheesecake. That is good. Wow. I mean, wow. Honestly, this is the best way I've ever done deer liver. Maybe the best thing I've made with any part of the deer. It is perfectly smooth and creamy. no graininess at all. And it's not really dense. It's actually has kind of a light texture. And the flavor is absolutely next level. The liver is really nice and mild. It was very fresh, and the milk soak took away any strong flavor that it might have had. It's subtly sweet and has a hint of smoke from the bacon. Unbelievable. It's nice to add a little something sweet to your pate, and that little squiz of honey works very well. But I want to try this with something a little bit fruity too. Try that out. This is just a little bit of mango habanero preserves. Give that a try. Oh, so good. I should probably be having some champagne or maybe a little dessert wine with this instead of my near beer here, but that's gonna have to do. I was gonna give most of this away as gifts, but it is so good that I'm gonna hold on to it, and I'm just gonna share it when I have guests. That way I'm gonna get some too. You want to keep this in the refrigerator, and it'll be good for a couple of months if you use the cure, or probably about a month without the cure. I didn't cook it hot enough to pull a real strong vacuum, so it's not going to be shelf stable. This absolutely rivals any foie gras pate that I've ever had, and even though last year I believe I said I'd be making liverwurst with all my deer livers, this is the new king, and this is what I'll be making every time I get lucky during hunting season. But if you want to make liverwurst, you can find that recipe on the channel. And if you don't hunt, you can make this with chicken livers, and it's gonna be wonderful. But if you do hunt, you can make this with deer liver or elk liver, and especially duck and goose livers. This one is an absolute treasure. So if you've got some deer liver, please give this one a try, and I know you're gonna love it. Thanks for watching.